Have you ever noticed how some people walk through fire and come out without a single burn? How they face chaos, yet carry peace that can't be explained? It's not because they're lucky. It's not because life gave them a break. It's because heaven marked them. There is a category of people on this earth who do not operate under the same rules. They are the exception, the unexplainable. They are the chosen. And if you're still here, if your eyes are locked on this screen, there's a reason. Because deep down, you've always known. You were never meant to live an average life. You were never meant to bow to fear, or sickness, or limitations. The chosen walk with something invisible, yet undeniable, a shield forged in the supernatural. And today, you're going to understand why the chosen ones cannot get sick the way others do, why affliction doesn't attach to you like it does to them, why your body, your mind, your spirit refuse to break. This truth is not a theory, it's a revelation, and once it hits your spirit, you will never see yourself the same way again. But listen closely. What you're about to hear isn't just information, it's activation, it's awakening, it's the unlocking of a spiritual reality that has been waiting just for you. So before we go any further, take a step of boldness. Tap that like button as a prophetic act, declaring that you're ready for divine truth. Subscribe if your spirit craves more of this fire, and in the comments write 99, because 99 is the number that Jesus left to chase the one. And maybe today you are that one he's coming for. There's something ancient resting upon the chosen. It's not visible to the naked eye. It doesn't show up on medical scans or scientific charts. But in the spirit realm, it glows like fire. It is the divine seal, a supernatural mark, placed not by human hands, but by the very hand of God himself. This seal isn't a metaphor. It's not poetic language or religious symbolism. It is real, and it commands attention in the unseen world. Demons recognize it, diseases shrink from it, and angels are drawn to protect it. This seal announces to the spirit realm, this one is set apart, this one is covered. Touch not my anointed. Remember Exodus 12? The night was heavy. Death itself walked the streets of Egypt, but the blood of the lamb on the doorposts became the barrier. It wasn't a wooden frame that protected them, it was the covenant. That was just a shadow of what was coming, because now, we don't carry blood on wood, we carry blood in spirit. The blood of Jesus, the ultimate lamb, now marks the chosen. But here's the twist. This seal doesn't just defend, it identifies. It lets heaven know where the kingdom is represented. It signals to darkness that territory is already taken. And when sickness tries to invade, it finds a warning. This house is under divine protection, access denied. But let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why the enemy still tries to come close? Even though you carry the seal? It's because he knows what you carry, and he fears what you might fully awaken into. So he sends fear. He sends doubt. He whispers lies like, you're not really chosen. This sickness proves God's not with you. You're just like everyone else. But let me declare this with fire. The presence of a battle does not mean the absence of a seal. In fact, the battle is often proof of the seal. Hell doesn't attack what doesn't threaten it. And you, chosen one, you are a threat to every system of darkness around you. Your presence is disruptive. Your very existence is warfare. Because sealed people carry something unstoppable, divine immunity. Not just immunity to sickness, but to fear, to anxiety, to spiritual manipulation, to curses passed down through bloodlines. You were not born to break. You were born to break. Patterns, to stand where others fall, to live where others die, to shine where others fade. This is not a motivational message. This is a divine reminder, because some of you forgot. Some of you have been walking like you're ordinary, acting like you're vulnerable, letting your mind spiral into panic every time symptoms show up. But today, Heaven is activating your memory. The seal is still there. The covenant still speaks. The blood still covers. And now, you must ask yourself, if the enemy can see the seal, if sickness recognizes the seal, why are you still questioning it? Don't you see? This isn't about how you feel. It's about who you are. And sealed people don't live like slaves. They walk like sons. They rule like daughters. They carry authority in their voice and healing in their shadow. So if your body has been under attack, if your mind has felt foggy, if you've been sensing unusual resistance, lean in. Because what's coming next will explain exactly why the seal makes you so dangerous, and why the cross did more than save your soul. It armed you for divine immunity. Stay close. Something sacred is about to be unlocked. Let's go deeper now, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see the cross forever. You've been told that Jesus died to save your soul. And yes, that's true. But what if I told you that was only the beginning? What happened on that hill called Golgotha wasn't just a rescue mission for eternity. It was a violent transaction, a holy exchange. Jesus didn't just purchase your salvation, he overpaid for your healing. Let that sink in. Every lash that tore into his back wasn't just pain, it was payment. Isaiah 53:5 doesn't say, by his stripes we might be healed. It declares, by his stripes we are healed. Past tense, final, settled. But here's the twist most people miss. Healing didn't begin at the cross. It began at the whipping post, before the nails, before the crown of thorns, before the blood touched. The wood, it touched the ground, and every drop that fell as he was beaten spoke something into the earth. This one is healed. That one is whole. The price is paid, in full. So why are so many still walking in sickness, fear, and torment? Because they don't know what's already been paid for, and what you don't know, you won't claim. Imagine this. You walk into a restaurant, you sit down, you eat, you enjoy. And when the bill comes, you're nervous, until the waiter says, relax, someone already paid for everything. Now imagine walking out, but refusing to believe the bill was paid. So you keep trying to pay again, and again, and again. That's what many believers are doing today, trying to earn what Jesus already covered, trying to deserve healing, trying to behave their way into miracles, trying to fast enough, pray enough, believe enough, when Jesus is still saying, it is finished. He didn't die to rent your healing. He died to give it to you, permanently. But listen, this healing isn't just physical. He didn't take stripes just for your body. He took trauma for your mind. He absorbed rejection for your emotions. He bore isolation for your depression. He allowed his body to be broken, so yours could be made whole. And here's the part most people never hear in church. When Jesus was beaten, the Roman soldiers didn't know they were activating prophecy. They thought they were punishing a rebel. But in the spirit realm, every whip was a key unlocking healing across generations. For cancer, for migraines, for infertility, for anxiety, for shame. Yes, even that hidden thing you've never told anyone about. He paid for that too. You see, sickness isn't just an attack on your body. It's an attempt to mock the price Jesus paid. Every time we settle for pain, tolerate torment, or accept bondage as normal life, we are agreeing with something beneath the cross instead of standing on what came through it. But here's what hell doesn't want you to know. Healing is not a reward for the perfect. It is the inheritance of the chosen. You don't have to chase it. You just have to receive it. Like a son receives from his father. Like a daughter walks into her house without asking for permission to belong. And yet, here's the most dangerous truth of all. The cross has already released the healing, but the enemy's last strategy is to keep you ignorant of it. Because if you ever wake up to the full revelation, if you ever realize that healing isn't a maybe, it's a right. That sickness isn't your destiny, it's a lie. And that your pain has already been nailed to a tree. You will become unstoppable. So let me ask you something personal, not as a preacher, but as a brother in this war. What have you been carrying that Jesus already crushed? What weight is still sitting on your shoulders when the Lamb already lifted it? Don't just hear this and move on. Let it crack something open in you. Let it confront every lie, every false identity, every diagnosis you thought you had to accept, because what's coming next will shake everything you thought you knew about how healing flows. We've talked about the price, but now, get ready to discover the lifestyle that makes that healing undeniable. Stay locked in. The next revelation is going to expose why the enemy has tried so hard to keep you spiritually distracted, and why sickness can't stick to a consecrated life. The breakthrough continues now. Let's take this deeper, because what you're about to hear isn't being preached in most pulpits. There's a mystery, a sacred pattern that heaven honors, a rhythm of living that becomes a spiritual firewall, not a superstition, not a ritual, but a lifestyle that makes the enemy flee. It's called consecration, and when a chosen one walks in it, sickness loses its grip. Now listen closely, because this isn't about being perfect. It's not about rules or religious pressure. This is about alignment with the flow of heaven, alignment with the one who dwells within you. Because here's what most people forget. The enemy is not all-powerful. He doesn't attack at random. He looks for legal access. He searches for open doors, fear, bitterness, unforgiveness, compromise, sin that stays hidden in the dark. These are all entry points. And once that door is cracked open, sickness walks in behind it. Not always as disease, but sometimes as weariness, confusion, mental fog, emotional torment. But the one who is consecrated, the one who says, "Not my will, Lord, but yours," that person becomes a fortress, a walking sanctuary, a mobile tabernacle of God's glory. And here's the truth the enemy fears. When your life becomes a temple, disease has nowhere to rest, because the Holy Spirit doesn't share space. When He dwells inside a fully surrendered vessel, everything unclean gets evicted. Let's be real for a moment. There are people who fast, people who pray, people who tithe and serve, yet still feel like something's attacking them. And they ask, "God, what am I doing wrong?" But sometimes the issue isn't just what you're doing. It's what you've tolerated, what you've allowed to linger in the shadows. A toxic relationship you refuse to end. A secret habit you keep saying you'll fix later. A bitter root that's never been pulled out. These aren't small things. They're leaks in your temple. And leaks attract the enemy. But here's the good news. Consecration is the cure. It doesn't mean perfection. It means separation. It means drawing a line in the spirit and declaring, "This house belongs to the Lord. Every room, every corner, every thought, every habit, no trespassing." When you live like that, heaven backs you. Angels are assigned to your perimeter. Demons lose legal ground, and your body becomes a place where sickness suffocates. Think about it. How can disease live in the same space where the glory dwells? How can depression stay where praise is erupting? How can infection invade where intercession is constant? It can't. It won't. Not when you're truly set apart. And don't think this is just spiritual theory. Medical science is catching up. Doctors have seen it. People who live in forgiveness heal faster. People who live with peace recover stronger. People who worship through pain release chemicals that baffle the experts. Why? Because the spirit governs the body. And when your spirit is aligned with God, your body receives the overflow. But let me hit you with this. The enemy doesn't mind you calling yourself Christian, as long as you don't live consecrated. Because consecration makes you undetectable to darkness. It erases the signals that demonic forces use to track you. It scrambles the code. It cloaks your life in the blood of the Lamb. And maybe, just maybe, the sickness that tried to hit you last year, the anxiety that tried to claim you, the fatigue that tried to take your strength, was all part of a spiritual hacking attempt. But now, you're sealing the breach. You're reclaiming your temple. You're declaring, this body is not available to darkness. I am set apart. I am consecrated. I am covered. So here's what I need you to do. Ask yourself, what am I still allowing? That's giving sickness permission to stay. Because once you evict the compromise, you evict the affliction. And when that happens, when your life is fully surrendered, when every breath becomes worship, every action becomes obedience, every thought becomes captive to Christ, then you'll understand what David meant when he said, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Psalm 91:1. And under that shadow, sickness cannot follow, pain cannot linger, darkness cannot breathe. But don't relax yet. We're not done. Because if consecration is the wall, what's the weapon? What makes sickness not just retreat, but run in terror? What makes the enemy not just lose his ground, but regret ever touching you? That is what we're about to uncover. Stay sharp. The next revelation might just flip everything you thought you knew about your authority as the chosen. Not all sickness bleeds. Not all pain screams out loud. Some wounds hide beneath the smile, behind the "I'm fine" inside the soul. Let's pause here, because this is the part few want to confront. But it might be the most dangerous kind of sickness. Not physical, but emotional, spiritual, silent, invisible to others, but crippling on the inside. So many are walking around with healthy bodies, but shattered souls. They go to work, go to church, go through the motions, but inside, they're bleeding. They carry wounds from betrayal, scars from words spoken over them in childhood, abandonment, shame, abuse, regret. And here's the thing. You can't medicate that kind of pain. You can't cover it with ambition. You can't drown it in distractions, because no matter how fast you run, it runs faster. But what if I told you, God never intended for His chosen to carry that kind of weight? Psalm 147:3 says it clearly. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Not just He can heal them, He does. Actively, constantly, lovingly. That's His nature. God doesn't just want to fix your body. He wants to mend your soul. And that's where the real war is. Because the enemy knows, if he can't touch your body, he'll target your mind. He'll infect your self-worth. He'll plant lies like, you'll never be good enough. Nobody really cares. You'll always be broken. If people knew the real you, they'd walk away. But those are not just thoughts. They are weapons. Weapons designed to keep you in emotional captivity. But here's where things shift. Because when you're chosen, you don't just receive healing. You become a vessel of restoration. God takes your trauma and turns it into testimony. He takes the heartbreak and transforms it into holy fire. And suddenly what used to cripple you now carries glory. Let's get even more real. Maybe you've forgiven others, but haven't forgiven yourself. You wear the smile, you quote the verses, but deep down, you're still punishing yourself for who you used to be. But hear this. If the blood of Jesus was enough for heaven to forgive you, who are you to keep condemning what God already cleansed? That self-rejection, that inner shame, that quiet voice that keeps accusing you in the night. It's not your voice. It's not God's voice. It's the accuser. And he's terrified you'll finally realize who you are. Because when the Chosen step into inner healing. They don't just recover, they rise, stronger, louder, bolder. Their past doesn't silence them, it fuels them, because they know what it's like to battle demons in the dark. And now they set others free. That's the inheritance of the chosen. So let me ask you, what wound are you still hiding that God's been longing to heal? What lie have you believed so long? It started to sound like your own voice. Today, that ends, because healing isn't just for the body. It's for your memories, your identity, your voice, your emotions. God doesn't just heal what people can see. He restores what no one else knows was broken. And when He heals it, He doesn't leave a scar. He leaves a testimony, a story that carries power, a life that breathes hope, a spirit that walks in unshakable peace. But let me take this even further, because there's a hidden promise in emotional healing, something most believers never tap into. There's a moment when your healed soul starts agreeing with heaven, and in that moment, your voice begins to carry authority, not just to survive, not just to feel better, but to shift atmospheres, to break chains, to walk in prophetic power that hell cannot handle. That's what we'll step into next, because when your soul gets aligned with heaven, you don't just live healed, you start releasing healing to others. And that's where the chosen step into their true assignment. Stay with me. The next truth might just unlock the authority you've had all along, but never dared to use. You weren't chosen just to survive. You were chosen to carry something heaven sent, something hell-fearing, something that shifts atmospheres the moment you walk in the room. Your protection, your healing, it was never meant to end with you. Because the chosen don't just receive miracles, they become the delivery system. Mark 16:18 isn't a suggestion. They will lay hands on the sick, and they will recover. Not maybe, not sometimes, not if the stars align or if you've been holy enough this week. They will recover. That means you, yes, you, carry something that disrupts darkness, something that sickness cannot stand. Something that makes demons tremble. Something that causes heaven to lean in and listen when you speak. You're not a spectator. You're not just a prayer request. You are the answer to someone else's cry. When you're chosen, your hands become healing agents. Your voice carries deliverance. Your shadow carries power, just like Peter's. And your very presence becomes a threat to the enemy's agenda. Why do you think the enemy has fought you so hard? Why the battles, the spiritual attacks, the mental warfare? Because the devil isn't scared of believers who sit in silence. He's scared of believers who walk in authority. He's terrified of the chosen who realize they are vessels, not victims. Let that sink in. You were never meant to be held down by sickness. You were made to break it. You don't just recover from pain. You reverse it. You don't just survive. Storms, you calm them for others. When you lay hands, heaven listens. When you pray, dimensions shift. When you speak healing, the Spirit moves. This isn't about hype. It's about identity. It's about stepping into the divine role you were always meant to walk in. You are a living altar, a carrier of the oil, a walking collision between earth and heaven. When God chose you, He didn't just pull you out of brokenness. He anointed you to go back into dark places and pull others out. You were forged in fire, so you could carry the flame. You've been healed, so you can declare healing, not in your strength, but in His name. Let me tell you something the enemy hopes you never figure out. Every healed place in your life becomes a weapon in your hands. That healed heart, it's a sword. That renewed mind, it's a shield. That restored body, it's a testimony wrapped in glory. You carry the evidence. You are walking proof that Jesus still heals, And that's why you can't afford to stay silent. Not in a world bleeding emotionally. Not in a generation drowning spiritually. Not when you were chosen to be the antidote. Because healing isn't just something you pray for. It's something you carry. It's your assignment. It's your inheritance. And the moment you step into this awareness, the moment you stop waiting for permission to walk in power, everything changes, because now, sickness doesn't just fear your prayers, it fears your presence. You don't have to raise your voice to have authority, you just have to know who you are. And the truth is, you're not just healed to feel better, you're healed to become a weapon in God's hands. But here's the mystery, and it's one that few ever fully unlock. There's a realm, a sacred dimension, where healing becomes more than restoration. It becomes revelation, where your life stops being about protection and becomes a portal for heaven to invade earth. And in the final moments of this video, that's exactly where we're going next. Because what God is about to reveal in the conclusion isn't just about healing, it's about the divine purpose behind why the chosen cannot be held by sickness at all. Are you ready? If you've ever felt like your life didn't make sense, if you've ever sat in silence, questioning the pain, the pressure, the weight on your shoulders, let this be the moment it all becomes clear. You are not ordinary. You were never meant to blend in, break down, or be buried under sickness. You are set apart. You are chosen. That fire inside you, that unexplainable endurance through every storm, that strength when you should have collapsed, it wasn't random. It was proof. Proof that your DNA carries destiny. Proof that sickness cannot stay where purpose lives. Proof that heaven has marked you, and hell can't touch what God has sealed. The world may call it luck, but you know better. You are not lucky. You are covered. You are not just healed. You are a carrier of healing. You are not barely making it. You are walking in divine immunity. Every breath you take is a threat to the kingdom of darkness. Because your life is evidence that the blood still works, that the cross was enough, that Jesus paid it all, and you're living proof of the receipt. So let this be your awakening. No more fear, no more doubt, no more accepting what was never meant for you. Sickness may knock, but it cannot enter. It may whisper, but it cannot stay. Because your spirit carries the roar of the Lion of Judah, and your body is the temple of a living, breathing, miracle-working God. From this day forward, walk like you're chosen. Speak like you're healed. Live like you're untouchable. Because in Christ, you are, and now, let your faith speak. Comment below. Sickness has no power over me. Declare it, seal it, prophesy it over your life. Because this isn't just a message, this is a mandate, and you, chosen one, are just getting started. Now go, shine, speak, heal, disrupt darkness, and never again forget. You are chosen, you are covered, you are untouchable. Now share this with someone who needs to be reminded. Healing is here, and it has your name on it.